What's going on, everybody? Living to learn. Thanks again for tuning into one of my videos. I am always very appreciative of the support that I receive on this channel. As I have explained before, this is something that I do. It's a passion of mine, and that passion is related to helping other people. If you don't know my story, if you haven't watched my earlier videos where I go into detail as to one of the main reasons why I do this, it's based on just the fact that I've been given this life. Again, none of us even asked to exist, right? I don't know if you did, but I don't remember asking to exist at all. The fact that I do, and the fact that I was born where I was born, into the family that I was born into, in the environment that I was born into, all of these things have come together so fortunately for me. And so that's where this comes from. That's where the source is, as far as why I do what I do, and why I am aspiring to coach other people, and perhaps they might be the first one. They may be the one who sets the ball in motion, as they say, right? Gets the ball rolling, and becomes this individual who, because their mindset has changed, because they've been able to see themselves and see life differently, they may be able to create that same, a more fortunate setting, not the same, a more fortunate setting for themselves and for their family and for those in the future. Because I'm a product of people who came generations before me that made decisions that allowed me to be where I am today. And so I have a lot of gratitude in my life. I'm very much well aware of the opportunity that I'm afforded by just being able to wake up in the morning. It's really something that we have to pay attention to, be grateful for. And if we're not, I would suggest we find out why. Because I don't think there's any reason for us to not be able to enjoy life. Now, I understand that that's easier said than done. I also understand that for someone like myself, it's a lot easier to see it that way, because I've always been supported. I've always been loved. I've always been helped. I've always been lifted up. I've always had people in my life, wise voices, my parents, my grandparents, my aunts and uncles, my siblings, friends. And, you know, I get it. I get it. It's easier for someone like me to talk about this type of stuff, or frame it in this way, or have the point of view that I have. But with that being said, I see no reason why you can't have the same if that's something that you desire. And it goes back to my coaching, is what I want to do. I want to help people get there if that's where they're looking to get. So I say all that to just say a big thank you to everybody who watches these videos, everyone who has donated to me financially, everyone who's commented, everyone who's shared, liked, subscribed to my channel. It's very important. It means a lot. I'm at a loss for words. It means a lot. It really does. And I want to talk about something pretty significant today. And I think it's something that we're aware of, but sometimes we're not fully aware of it. And I want to begin by reading an excerpt from one of my favorite books. I've talked about this book before on this channel. It's called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It's written by Stephen R. Covey. And, Mr. Covey has since passed, but this book it's left a legacy. It has to have impacted so many people, not just myself. And I got to tell you, this book has really changed my life. And so if you've never read The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, if you've never listened to it, if you're more of an audiobook person, I'm not hating on that. I got no problems with that. I made a reel on my Instagram at Live to Learn Coaching earlier this week, where I said, hey, I don't care how you got to learn, as long as you're learning. If you're visual, if you're a listener, if you're a reader, I like to read. I got a couple of books I'm reading right now. I try to have at least 2 books that I'm reading at a time. And one of the great things about being in outside sales, it affords me a lot of downtime, which I take advantage of by reading. and by just thinking and listening to motivational, videos, inspirational videos and recordings. And again, some of us might think that's kind of corny or it's just not your thing, and that's fine. It doesn't need to be your thing. I'm sharing with you what my thing is. But anyway, when it comes to learning, that was something I said in the reel on my Instagram, that, hey, it doesn't matter to me. It's not important to me what you do to learn. It's that what I think matters most is that you're actually learning. And hence the name of the channel, right? Living to learn. There's always something to be learned. There's always something to be found out. At least that's the way I see it. And for me, that's an attitude, that's a mindset that's going to help me get to where I want to get. I'm not there yet, but every single day I try my best. I'm a person just like you. This is not, Mr. superhero. I've overcome all the obstacles. Not at all. Far from it. I've got the blessing and the curse of humanity just like everyone else. I've got the good and the bad just like everyone else. But what I'm saying is I'm trying my hardest to take responsibility for how I see things and how I allow things to affect me or not affect me. One of the greatest things that I've discovered, it's not really a discovery, it's just kind of a realization that one comes to eventually, is that gratitude really just changes your mindset. It really rearranges your emotions. It really puts things in perspective. When I go down a list of things that I'm grateful for, and there are many of them, if you sit there and you really think, there's a lot of them, at least for me. It changes my mood. It changes the emotions that I'm going through. I'm in sales. Sales is tough. Sales is a very hard job. It's a hard environment. There are no guarantees. And so it can get discouraging. So this practice has helped me so much. It's really it's allowed me to continue. It's allowed me to put things in perspective, put things in focus. And I've talked about this in previous videos, gaining a hold of our fears, grabbing a hold of our emotions and laying these things out, almost like if you can envision a table that you're laying it out on and spreading it out, dissecting it, breaking it down to see, first of all, it's not as loud, it's not as overwhelming as it is in your mind when you actually take it and look at it that way. And the second thing it does, again, it enables you to take responsibility for what's going on. Now, responsibility is one of those things where we know about it, we acknowledge its importance, and we even resign to see things in a certain way that we recognize as being responsible. And I'm not knocking any of those things, but I want to read an excerpt from the book that really it challenged my way of seeing it, and I'm hoping that it'll maybe spark something in you. Please, and I've mentioned this several times, I love comments. I love, contributing. I love when people contribute. They ask questions. Man, hey, disagree with me if you want. I got no problem with that. I want to see some activity. I want to see some people come in the comments and say, I thought about what you said, or hey, you know what? Speaking of which, this, and this. Maybe you have another quote that kind of affirms, or maybe challenges what I'm saying. I have no issue with that. I have no issue. If I think I'm right all the time, how am I supposed to learn? If I think no one can come and correct me, now again, respectfully, right? We all know the way we need to be spoken to receive the message. But if I think I'm above that, I'm above any of those, suggestions, that's not the truth at all. That's not the case at all. That's not where I want to be. Although it's tempting, because there's some comfort, there's some certainty there. Everyone wants to feel good about it. I want to feel like I'm the smartest person in the room. Why not? It feels great. But the reality is, if I want to get better, and if I actually am the smartest person in the room, I better get to another room, because that is the only way that I'll get better. Anyway, let me read this excerpt, and again, go in the comments, tell me what you think. If you want to message me on Instagram, you can too. I mean, however you want to do it. Well, I'm opening it up for discussion. I'm opening it up for suggestion. Okay? So on page 88 of the book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, he's talking about a scenario where I think he was helping out an organization, and he's talking about proactivity versus reactivity, right? Being proactive versus being reactive. And that's a whole nother subject, another video I'd be happy to do if you're interested. Again, if you have suggestions about things you want me to cover or talk about, please let me know. I'm open to it. Okay, I promise. And I'm not saying I'll be able to do them all, but it's helpful. Okay, so let me read what it says on page 88. It's the nature of reactive people to absolve themselves of responsibility. It's so much safer to say, I am not responsible. If I say I am responsible, I might have to say I am irresponsible. So let's break that down. It's so much safer. Why does he use, I'm curious, why do you think, I'm going to give you what I think, but what would you think he would use the word safer for? What is safer? Why do you think it's safer? It's so much safer. Well, listen, we've talked about this before in other videos. How when we are looking to do certain things, if we're looking to do something different, okay, something that is, maybe in our mind, it feels a little overwhelming. Your brain kind of just sets off these alarms, right? It wants to go into a self-preservation mode. It wants to go into a survival mode, right? We've talked about these unmerited fears. It's a natural reaction. It happens, but we've talked about it before. We've talked about these unmerited fears, these unmerited, overwhelming things, right? That keeps us from changing. There's things that we need to change. We go to attempt to make a change, and it just pulls us right back in. So he's saying, his language, I think, kind of speaks to that, where he says, it's so much safer to say, I am not responsible. Now, you can go a million different ways with that, right? Well, okay, if I'm not responsible, that means what? Something or someone else is. But what I was talking about earlier about, my daily battle to stay positive, to stay away from anxiety, to not get overwhelmed, to not get buried in these negative emotions, that requires some responsibility. That also requires me to acknowledge, in all honesty, if I'm being irresponsible. There's always a part that we play. I want to give you an example. Oftentimes when somebody, let's say there's two people in a relationship and there's a breakup. What do they say? They said there's always 3 sides to the story. There's your side, their side, and then there's the truth. What do they mean by that? I think it means there's always something that we're not able to readily see. Something we're not able to acknowledge unless we first take responsibility of our part. Now, here's the thing. This can be super painful. So then in that case, yes, hey, it's so much safer for me to say I'm not responsible. This person did this, this, and this. This is the way they treated me. This is the way they acted. They're the reason why. And it's going to be so, you're probably, some of you that are going through that, if you're watching this video, you're probably looking at me like, man, you don't have any idea how this goes. You don't know what happened in my breakup. You don't know what happened in my situation. You're right, I don't. But there's always There's always a measure. It might be the smallest. It may be 99% that other person's problem, that other person's fault. They might be 99% responsible for the whole ordeal. I'll give you that. But not 100%. Because I was still involved. I was still a part of it. Now, it could be something as simple as, well, not simple. It could be something like, you know what, my mindset, my vision, my perspective is not yet focused enough for me to be able to identify the things I need to identify, so that in my next relationship, I don't get involved with someone like that. Now, this is life. There's no 100% foolproof plan for anything. What do they say? There's two things guaranteed in life: death and taxes. Everything else is a you never know. So I'll sit with you in that. I understand that. I get it. It's not, I'm explaining this in a video real cut and dry, but I know it's not cut and dry. But my emphasis here, my point is the responsibility. See, because just like when I take responsibility to control or properly place my emotions, I have to do that. No one else can do that for me. That's the danger of wanting to put that responsibility on something or someone else. Not to mention acknowledging that if I've been irresponsible, where have I messed up? Where have I slipped up? See, some of us want to save face so bad. It's really difficult. And I would suggest that you get to the bottom of that. I'm not here to judge you. I'm not here to beat you up for that. And I'll be honest, there's areas in my life where some of that exists. Just because I'm on here sharing this with you doesn't mean I've got it all wrapped up in every area. That's not what I'm saying. But what would say so much safer to say? It's so much safer to just kind of pawn that off on something or someone else. And what I'm telling you, what I'm suggesting, right, as your YouTube coach, as the video guy, as the person who is living this right now, feeling it right now, doing my best, what I'm saying is I think the responsibility is the best route to go. Once we've taken that, we will achieve this level of maturity, this level of strength that automatically comes with it. You'll begin to notice that it doesn't sting as much as it used to, because you're exercising this, right? Everything's an exercise. Everything's just a pattern. Everything is just, hey, I'm getting used to this now. I'm becoming this person. I'm doing this now. That's what this is about. See, when I coach people, that's the emphasis. Step by step, one little thing at a time. But the responsibility, it's got to start there. Because if I'm refusing to take responsibility, I really can't do much more for myself. And that's a vicious cycle. But anyway, page 88, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Mr. Covey gives us some jewels. There's a lot of gems and jewels in this book. Please read it. Please listen to it if you haven't. It's a great one. And man, I'm getting ready to write a book soon, and I hope it has the same type of impact. So, any tips on book writing, I'd appreciate that too. Seriously, it's daunting, but I'm looking forward to it. Anyway, thank you for watching the video. Really do appreciate your support, and feel free to share this with someone you think might benefit. If you think somebody might benefit from coaching and working with me directly, send them to my Instagram. It's on the description of this video, at Live to Learn Coaching, LIVE, the number 2, Learn Coaching. That's my IG. Reach out to me directly. I'd love to help or see if I could help. Right? Anyway, have a great one.